Okay, I guess you all heard, did you all hear that?
Yes.
We are now official. I just started the recording. We have a couple of people who are still pending, but I want to get us started on time. And what a great group. I can't believe it. How cool is it to see all these people here? My goodness. I was so thrilled at the interest in this knit along. And for some of you, this is your first sweater project, so congratulations. And for others, you've been knitting for a long time, and this is just a sweater that was appealing. So thank you for your for being with us and for joining this knit along. So as I mentioned, I'm recording this. I will let you, the recording will live in YouTube. You will all receive a private link to the recordings of each session so that you can go back and kind of look through and find any questions that you had. What we're going to do today after we go through our introductions is I'm going to give each person an opportunity to tell us whatever questions you have so far. And we're going to list those also. I'm going to ask you to keep that brief. And let's stick to the topic and what you have to ask, because we have an hour. We can go over, hey, we own the network. We can go over if we have to. But, in the interest of everyone's time, and we're going to ask the questions and then I'm going to answer them all at once so that we, you may find that you have the same questions as someone else, which is a great way to get through all the things that we have. And then we're going to go through that pattern. So since you started off, why don't you just tell us who you are, where you're from, and I don't know, whatever you want to tell us about yourself, but not much.
Okay, I'm Gina and I live in Oregon. I just moved here and I just got my yarn today. So,
and
short and sweet.
How did you hear about Nitty Gritty Yarn Girl? That's a good question.
I don't know, but I'm glad I found you. I don't know. It was on Facebook somewhere. Seriously, I don't know.
A lot of people say that. You just showed up on my Facebook feed one day. And that's good. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Yeah. Well, thank you and welcome. Sally.
Okay, I'm in Old Saybrook, Connecticut, so I'm not that far from Paulette. This is my first sweater, my first knit along. And so far, I've also done my first lifted increases and my first German short rows. And I guess when it comes to questions, I'm going to need you to
we'll get around to the questions in a minute. Let's do our introductions and we'll come back and do questions. Okay. All right. Okay. And how did you hear about us?
From a local yarn shop that was closing, and I said, oh my God, where am I going to go? And she said, you're going to go to Nitty Gritty Yarn Girl.
Wasn't that cool?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Candace.
Hi, I'm Candace and I am from Millersville, Maryland, which is very close to Annapolis. And I found Nitty Gritty Yarn Girl like Gina did. I don't know how.
We don't know.
I don't know. I have knit a couple sweaters before, but it's been several years. And I really feel like getting into some kind of a class situation keeps you going, and it makes you accountable.
That's great. Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to hold each other accountable and do a lot of sharing while we're here too. Excellent. Julie. Oh, wait a second. Candace, Annapolis, are you coming to the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival?
Well, I really would like to. I am a very worried about COVID. We're really high at COVID right now. So I haven't made a decision yet. I'm a little nervous. I have to be honest with you. I have my own business and I really can't afford to get sick for a period of time. So I'm very careful.
Okay. So. Okay. Well, it's, yeah, I understand that. We're going to have strains coming in and out and going up and down and peaks and valleys and all that. And everybody makes their own decision. So hopefully you will join us. Mm-hmm. We're looking forward to it.
I'd like to.
We're looking forward to a fun time. Hey, Jules.
Hey, sorry, I had to unmute. I have an ornery old dog here who's barking at the younger dog. So I apologize if he starts
Well,
being
that's
mean to her.
okay. Years ago, that used to be an issue. Now that we all live via Zoom, you know, it's not a big deal.
Okay, so I'm Julie. I'm from Massachusetts. I've made one sweater before, but that was a long time ago and it was a bulky weight and I never did a swatch or any of that, but it came out okay. And how did I meet? I went to some festival in Niantic and saw your bus.
That's right. You were at the Celebrate East Lyme Day
Yes.
and you saw I had the bus there. Yeah.
Yep. And that was how I,
The beginning of a
That was
beautiful
how I met you.
relationship, wasn't it?
yep.
That's cool. Excellent. Hi, Dawn.
Hello, I'm
How are
Dawn.
you?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. You know, I get off work at 5, and it's a tough job, and it's like go off the Windows machine and onto the Apple machine and Zoom. So I'm really glad that it's timed this way so I can make it. I'm really excited about that. I'm sitting here coveting that sweater because I start coveting it when I saw it on the dolly on Monday night. I was like, oh, I love that sweater. Oh, it's got set-in sleeves, blah. You know,
Oh, that's so easy.
I'm a sweater knitter. I've been knitting for 50 some years. And back when I started knitting, it was only set
That's all
in
you had was
sleeves.
set in sleeves, right?
Right. So, but then I learned top down. It's like, ooh, I like this. The raised increase decrease on this particular pattern that we're doing. I'm excited about that because that's something I haven't done. I like new things. I like knit alongs. I'm still finishing up my West Knits shawlography. It's my first West Knits project. And I learned a lot of really interesting techniques on that. So I'm in Seattle. I learned about Nitty Gritty Yarn Girl because my husband kind of was forced into retirement about a year ago. And he wandered around the house aimlessly. And I told him pick up a set of knitting needles and he did. And I posted a picture of him doing his thing on Facebook and Paulette reached out and said, oh, that's cool. You want to be on Nitty Gritty Yarn Gal? And so I start following when I can, when I get off work early enough, I jump on. So I'm excited because I love travel. I travel by myself for knitting getaways. I go on knitting cruises, or I went on a knitting tour in England. And now with COVID, I'm not able to do that. So I'm excited to have just at least a knit along, online until I can get back in the game of traveling for my my knitting.
Well, that's great. That's great. Welcome. Well, Mary Brinkman, traveling,
Yes.
you do your share of traveling to Nitty Gritty Yarn Girl retreats, don't you? Along with Julie.
Absolutely. We have a great time. It's a lot of fun. I live in Nebraska. I'm Mary, and I live in Nebraska. I have not done a knit along in years. I haven't done a sweater in years, and I've never done a top down. So that's why I was really excited about this. And I just love the style of the sweater. It's just beautiful. It's simple, but it's beautiful. So classic.
Yeah, classic design. That's what I thought too. Excellent. We're glad to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rita.
Hey, I just got off work myself. So, I met you through Facebook. You popped on and you were actually doing a tutorial. I'd only been knitting about 6 months. And I'm like, wow, that is something I can understand. And I've been following you and Paul ever since.
Right. And you're going to see a lot more of those little tutorials in the way of what we call stitch demonstrations.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be doing little snippets that will be on our YouTube channel. So that's one of the goals this year, is to have more of those on out there for you.
And this
Hannah.
is your first sweater.
Sorry. Your first
Sorry.
sweater. It is. You're mute.
Am I unmuted now?
You are. We can hear you. We can hear you.
It's very hard to stay off of Zoom.
Yeah.
Any meeting I could do that, I could just get on the phone and that's what I do. Anyway, so I'm Hannah. I live in New York. I've been knitting since, I would say, close to 50 years also. And I've made many, many sweaters. I found Nitty Gritty Yarn Girl. I'm not really sure either, but I'm thinking maybe Vogue Knitting, not Vogue.
Might have been Vogue Knitting Live. I think so.
I might have popped in on one of the, I don't know, whatever you guys call those little meetings, and then found you on Facebook. And it's one of the things that I never actually sign on so that you know that I'm on, but I often listen to the Monday nights because that was something fun to do during COVID. I
Yeah.
would listen to you on Monday nights and Joy Bauer for her cooking lessons on Tuesday nights. It was kind of fun.
Good.
The sweater that you're wearing, I really like too. I think I looked up the pattern or something, and I had told you that they were all big. So this was the first one, had an extra small. So I was sort of excited about that. And I love the pattern. But unlike everyone else, I'm not excited to try all these new stitches. They're kind of making me nervous. And I've been doing, the first net sweater I ever made had cables on it. First thing I ever
Well,
knit.
if you did cables, you'll be able to do a
Sweater.
left increase.
Started with a sweater, had cables all over it. That's what I started with. But when I was younger, these things didn't faze me. Now that I'm older and as I've told you, I go to this yarn shop right near my house. So that I've been pretty loyal to forever. And I've forgotten how to do things myself. So
Well,
we'll see how this goes.
good. Look forward to it. Hey, Miss Nancy, you're on mute too, sweetheart. You're on mute.
There we go.
Hi there.
Hi.
I feel like I've just seen you.
I think so. You and Ben.
Yes, Nancy has been to our retreats as well.
Yes. That's where I met Mary.
Yeah, that's right.
So I've done sweaters before. I'm not comfortable with short rows, so I'm looking forward to that. And I've not done the increase with the stitch below. So that's so I'm looking forward to that. And I think I met you on Facebook as well.
I think you might have.
Anyway, I'm looking forward to this knit along.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Anna. You're muted, sweetheart.
Hello, my name
Hi,
is
you can
Anna.
tell all the teachers in the room. They can find that unmute button really fast.
Yes, we can. We sure know how to do that.
You sure know
my
how to
name's
use that,
Anna.
don't you?
Yes, a lot. I am a teacher. I live in Tennessee, and I've been knitting off and on for probably since I was about 8 years old. My aunt taught me how to knit, but I seriously started knitting about 5 years ago, and this is my first sweater.
Uh-huh.
This-
I'm sorry, I just
Every project I do on a knit along with Paula is always something new. So I'm obviously not afraid of a challenge because I've taken on quite a few knitting challenges lately, and they're fun. And I found out about Nitty Gritty Yarn Girl. I don't know, a lot of women can say this, but I blame my husband for my yarn addiction to Nitty Gritty Yarn Girl because he's actually the one that came across your show. He follows Paul on LinkedIn and thought that Paul was doing one of his shows, but it actually turned out she was doing one of your shows
right.
on LinkedIn. So my husband comes running down the stairs going, "You gotta watch this show, you gotta watch this show." And so I've been watching ever since.
Yeah, I love that. I love that story about how we met. Yep, we met through our husbands by mistake. And Patricia, welcome. You are new.
Yes, I'm from Nevada, and I've been knitting a long time. I know Carla Scott, who does the Noro magazine and does presentations with you. I've known her since 2006 through various knitting travel experiences. And I was attracted to the knit along because I've done one garment by Hunter Stein, and it's called Summerland, and it's a sleeveless pullover. And I'm a garment sewer who knits, and I found her construction very entertaining. So I think this one will be as well.
Well, that's great. That's really great. It's nice to know that you've knitted one of Hinter's sweaters before.
Mhm.
So, and I find her instructions pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I
So
think so.
I think that if we trust her, we'll do okay. And she's been
Yeah.
she's been very reachable and open to helping. So
Mhm.
wherever I've run into issues. So that's
She's got
great.
a very good mind, probably a mathematical mind.
Yes,
Something
I'm
that I
sure.
don't have.
And say hi to Carla for me. I love when she comes on the show and does the Neuro magazines for us. She does a great job.
I always tune in support of Carla for that in
Yeah,
particular.
well, that's great. And I appreciate that. I'm sure she does as well.
Mhm.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Paulette.
How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm from New Hampshire.
And also one of our retreat attendees. My goodness, I didn't
Yeah.
realize how many of you were here tonight.
Yeah, so much fun. Yeah, so I've been knitting for a long time. My mother taught me to knit when I was in first grade, and I've done lots of sweaters, but I'm really good at casting on, and then I get distracted by something new. So I love knit alongs because it keeps me focused. So I'm
Cool.
excited for this. I love the yarn. I did my swatch.
Good for you.
My
To
color.
use this and get started.
Cool. Well, hold up your colors, everybody, so we can all see what colors we're doing here. We've
My
got,
yarn's coming
some-
tonight.
yeah, your yarn's
Yeah,
coming
mine is
tonight.
supposed to be coming
Cool.
tonight also. I don't have mine yet.
Excellent. So we've got, we got a whole variety of colors there, and they're beautiful. Everybody's that's right. Gina's showed up. Yep. We've a few
Today.
people are doing the Merlot, the same color as yours. So pretty cool. We've got lots of variety here, and it sounds like we've got now we have a couple of first sweater knitters, and then so those of us who are more experienced, where it's all going to be, we're helping each other. And so as I'm thinking, I thought what I might do. All right, I'm going to ask for that list of questions, but again, stay on point with your question. Let's not get overly expressive with what we need to know. Because I'm sure we're going to have lots of the same questions. So Cindy, I'm going to start with you. Was there something specific you needed that was stumping you in the beginning of the?
Yeah, so the only question I have really is about the collar. Do you think it would work to make the collar smaller, shorter?
Okay, collar shorter. Okay. All right, that's fine. Let's say, why don't we go to Hannah? Did you have any questions at this time?
Well, I was going to add two things. I was going to ask if Patricia could hold up the color again that's in her hands. And we had talked about that before. And mine was also about the collar, and your sample that you posted the other night looked like it was kind of tall and a little narrow. And I was a little concerned about that because I don't want something that's hugging my neck and I don't want it too high. So I wanted it a little looser. So that was mine. Oh, thank you. I haven't picked my color yet. And we were talking before that it might be, that's the Merlot.
It is. It's a lovely color, and the yarn has wonderful stitch definition.
Isn't it great?
Yes. Lovely.
Cool.
That's the Merlot, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Nancy, any questions right now?
No?
Nope. Okay. All right, Anna? Yes.
I was wondering if you could explain the swatching process, because I don't
Blocking?
really understand. No,
A
where we make a
swatch.
swatch.
Okay.
I did it blindly following the pattern because I've learned that the pattern is always right, but I don't really understand the process of why you do that. So I would
Okay.
love some explanation.
Certainly. That's a very important question, and one that I have already marked on my list to go over with you. Pat, is it Pat or Patricia? Which do you prefer?
Either one, I answer.
Okay.
At the moment, I don't have any questions.
Okay. All right, Julie?
I'm good. I don't have
Okay.
any questions yet. Thanks.
Okay. Dawn? No questions? Okay. Miss Mary?
Nothing yet.
Okay.
I will.
Okay. Rita, I know you're waiting for your yarn, but I did send the pattern. So any questions yet?
Well, I'm just reading because we're doing it in the round. So after the cast on and you place the stitch marker, do you join?
Yeah. Okay. So joining in the round.
Yeah, because it
Okay.
doesn't say to do that. It just says to go,
Okay.
So I
Got
just want to make sure I don't knit it flat.
No, don't knit it flat, whatever you do. Remember, it's in the round, top down. So yes. So perfect. Gina, questions, honey?
The
Gina and I
German,
text about every day.
yeah.
At least once.
So I'm sure on top of this question, I'll have additional. So when joining in the round, are you doing the additional stitch and then going back and forth so it doesn't have the little ledge?
Okay.
And then also the German short row, is that going to be like a wrap and turn?
Okay. All right. Versus wrap and turn. Okay. Sally.
Okay, I have two questions. I was thinking with the collar, turning it in, so it's sort of like a roll
Yep.
collar and stitching it down. My second question is if you need to unknit the lifted increases, how do you do that?
Okay.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
All righty. Candace.
I'm good right now.
Okay. All right. But you guys are easy. All right. So all right. So let's I will get to your questions as I go through the pattern and they're applicable in the context of the pattern. Okay. So first, when you're swatching, you are knitting in the round. So your swatch should be knitted in the round. So, what did I do with mine? Oh, see, the first thing I go to show you is not in my bag. All right, so I knew it wasn't far. So when you're swatching and you're knitting in the round, because you're casting on, and think about it this way, your collar cast on calls for, I think it's 76 stitches. Now you're going to be knitting a different stitch for your collar, but it's about the same size. So what I did was I cast it on to my circular needles and I used a small circular needle.
Is that small like cable you're meaning or a different? That's what
Small
you mean.
meaning
right?
a small wire.
Right.
So if you have interchangeable needles or if you're using you can't use a 24-inch cord.
Right. Can you use
in
16?
the round? Sorry.
The 16 work?
Yes. So a 16 would work because if you're using, even if you use a 24-inch wire or 24-inch needle, they won't meet in the middle to work in the round. You're not going to be able to work in a circle. So you need to get a little shorty needle. And also what's going to happen when you have the shorter wire is you're going to have a shorter tip. So for example, on this one, the tips on these it's probably about 3.5 inches, because that way, when you are joining, when you're doing your circle, you have enough room there, your needles will meet in the middle so that you can knit in that circle. Now, is there anyone who's not knitted in the round yet? Okay, good. So I'm going to suggest a small needle. When I got to the point where I was starting to do the increases for the shoulder was when I changed needles, and I could have even gone a little bit further before I changed my needle. So don't rush to get on a big needle. Eventually you'll be in the place where you're using a longer wire. So that's so swatching, cast on in the round, get as many stitches as you can in that round. So you're going to need to put at least 75 stitches on a circular needle to be able to join it in the round. Yes, you join it. You're going to, when you knit your swatch and when you knit your collar, you cast on in the round and then you join it in the round. So yes, we cast on one extra stitch. That's how I do it anyway. So if it says to cast on
72.
72, I cast on 73. Take the last stitch that I casted on, put it onto the right needle from the left needle, and then take the first stitch on the right needle, pull it over it, and now you've joined your work. And that's where you put your stitch marker to mark the beginning of your round. Same thing when you're doing your swatch. So what I did was I knitted my swatch in the round. I know I have at least the number of stitches that I needed. And I knitted to what I thought was going to be, I wanted how high I would want my collar to see if that was 4 inches. Then what I did was I marked 4 inches on my swatch with a ruler. So don't just take your swatch and measure. Measure your 4 inches and then count the stitches you have in that 4-inch area. That's going to tell you how many stitches you have if your gauge is on. Okay, so that's how we did. I did not block my swatch. The reason I did not block my swatch is because there's going to be a lot of drape in this. I know it's going to grow. That's the fiber the fabric that you're going to get from this. It's got alpaca, wool, and nylon in it. So you're going to get a little bit of drape in there. Now, as I'm working it, you can see the stitch definition is lovely in this yarn. So, if your swatch is close, if you want to block it, you can, but if you blocking your swatch, just put it in your whatever soak you use and then squeeze it out and just lay it flat. Don't stretch. You want to make sure your stitches don't move when you're blocking. Your piece should look the same as it does. It's not stretching it. It's just giving it a finished look. It will naturally relax. And that's what you want the fabric to do. You don't want it to grow. So you're just looking to relax the fabric. Okay. So mine measured right on with my 4 inches in the area that I needed. I swatched with an 8 needle. I started to go with the 9 and I did not like the fabric. I did not like the way it was too loose for me. So I would, that's why I went with the smaller needle and the stitch count was perfect. Okay, so any questions there for that swatch?
Yes. Are you knitting English or Continental?
I knit US English. Yeah. And so that's going to change for, everybody. We all knit a little bit differently. Our gauge is a little bit different. And I don't knit Continental, so I'm sorry, I can't answer those questions for you. But I can get the answers for you if it's not something that I can answer off the top of my head. Most of it's pretty general. I mean, I know how to knit Continental. I just find it faster for me because this is how I learned, and it works better for me. So every time I think I'm going to try do Continental, it takes me longer to get myself around the piece, and I go, oh, I'm just going back to regular. All right. So that, as far as making the collar shorter, you can make the collar as short as high as you want. I mean, it's your sweater. If you want it to be, just a little stand up around your neck, then that's what you do. I happen to like the longer collar. And the nice thing about it is you can turn it in. Okay, so if you have options that way. If you make it shorter, then it's just shorter, and that's where it is. If you make it shorter, you're going to have to figure out how short you want it. If you have a favorite collar on a sweater, measure the height of the collar and see where,
Sorry, did you actually take the number of rows that it tells you to do? Did you follow the pattern exactly, or did you add or?
Good question. Let me look at it again. I'll tell you. I should be able to tell you by looking at it.
It looks like it's 30 rows.
I do believe I counted the rows. I do believe I counted the rows, and I did exactly what she told me to. And it was, I went with that because I thought, hey, if it's a little bit higher, I can fold it in, I can fold it over. I can fold it
Try it
inside.
on?
Sorry?
Did you try it on?
Not yet. Not yet. I did not try it on. As far as where is it going to sit on my neck, the only thing I can suggest there is that you look at the picture, because it's not, I mean, it's a funnel. It's a high neck, but it doesn't look like it's tight around your neck like a turtleneck is. If you wanted, and you wanted it a little bit wider at the neck so that it's not tight, I would suggest you cast on more. And then if you decide how much bigger you want it, and then you can always reduce your number of stitches when you get to this piece here, but you're going to start growing, and then you're going to have you're going to have your short rows. So what are you doing? Are you going to decrease, or are you going to shape, or that's a lot of changes there. So
could you knit the collar in on like one size bigger needle and then drop down?
well, you can, what I would suggest you do is I would suggest you swatch that color on a bigger needle, because your bigger needle is going to give you a bigger fiber. Your fabric is going to be looser on that bigger needle. So, if I do anything, I might do another, each of these sections, you're going to have to make sure you have enough stitches between. You're going to have to do a number of repeats, because you have more, you're of the design, you're going to need to have repeats in there. So it's, you have purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 3. So that's your pattern. So you've got to make sure that you have 3, 4, 5, 6 extras, combinations of stitches as you go around, if you're going to make it bigger. So rather than knitting it on a bigger needle, Hannah, I would suggest knitting the collar, the neckline for the next size up.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And, I don't know if that'll work for you, but well, you're not, because you have to
Maybe
go
I'll try
from
it on so I would know.
72 to 84 stitches.
Yeah, they have 72 all the way up to medium anyway, so I'm sure it's probably fine.
Right, exactly. So if you have a little, if you're an extra small, then your neckline is going to be bigger on you than it would on me. Okay. All right. So we solved that question, or answered that question. We got our swatch question. We got our joining in the round question. German short rows. The German short rows there are so many different kinds of short rows. They all accomplish the same thing. They're all used for shaping. Now in here, the short rows are, around the neckline in the back, just to give you some shaping on the back of your garment, so that you don't have a straight line across your shoulders. It gives the back just a little bit of shape across your shoulders. So when you're doing the German short row, you have your wrap, let me show you on this. We're going to go from brioche to German short rows. And if you just follow her instructions, and there's a tutorial there too. So, just go with the tutorial that she has. So when you're doing your German short row, what she says is, and I did put the video from the show last night, from the show Monday night, that has the left and right lifts. That's on the YouTube channel, and I'll send you the link for that as soon as Paul sent it to me, so I'll send that to all of you tonight, so you'll have it. So let me find my Lifton or my German short row instruction here, because I like to read it every time. So, okay, so now we're going to, it said you're working on it. So it says to turn and bring the yarn the other way, right? So turn your work. So you use the turn and you bring the yarn forward. Let me see it here. Turn my work. My yarn is forward already. And then you're going to take your work and lift it. Now, if you can see that, can you see me clearly? So this is my stitch. You take it and you lift it and it creates 2 loops. Right? Then you move your yarn to the back. You do it this way, then you slip your stitch over. I have to read what she says. Slip your next stitch, then bring your yarn to the back, and then you start knitting. So what you're doing with a short row, it's really just what it says. It's a short row. Normally you're going to be going around that whole sweater when you're knitting. You go around the whole sweater from the beginning to the back to the beginning again. With a short row, you're knitting to the number of stitches they tell you, or the marker they tell you. With a short row, it says to knit X number of stitches, do your short row, and then turn your work and go back. So you're going to think that you're going in the wrong direction, but you're not, because the whole idea is to shape your garment. So what I'll do tonight is, well, tonight, probably not, but tomorrow I'll do I'll create a little demo on short rows and doing the German short row. So that will be on, we'll have that as another little tutorial that will be out there for you. And I'm past my short rows on this one. So what probably, maybe by Saturday, yes, by Saturday, I'll have a short row demo that I can show you as you're going along so you don't get confused. But when you're reading your pattern, if you get to the short rows before we do, and Sally, I know you've started your pattern already. Anybody else get theirs started? Okay, just read, do what she tells you. Don't second guess her unless it doesn't make sense. So if she, it's the instructions are clear, and do it one step at a time. Turn your work, bring the yarn to the front. If it's already in the front when you turn it, then leave it there. Slip the next stitch onto your right needle. When they say as if to purl, you're slipping it this way instead of this way, right? As if to purl, you slip that stitch, and then take the yarn and pull it back, and it's going to create those 2 bars. And then work the next stitch firmly to avoid holes and tighten it carefully. And that's it. It's just start going back in the other direction till it tells you to do your next short or do your next double stitch. You turn it again, you go back the other row. And so you're going to see how that you're going to be working closer and closer and closer so that you're making a little angle in your work. It's not a sharp angle. It's just a shaping. That's all it's going to be. So I'll create a little video for you that you'll have before next Monday, but we'll demonstrate it more on Saturday when we're together.
What is your preferred short row method? This or a different one?
I like wrap and turn. I like wrap and turn because it's only one stitch I have to deal with. I don't have to worry about that double stitch on the next row, those 2 bars. Now, she talks about making sure when you go back to knit the 2 stitches, because that bar is going to be there. It's really not 2 stitches. You're going to knit it. You're going to see both, that whole stitch is going to come up at once. You don't have to like knit one and knit the other together. But I did the German short row because I wanted to follow her directions. If you're more comfortable doing a different short row, like a wrap and turn, then do a wrap and turn, as long as you do the same thing on both sides and you're consistent in what you're doing. Like I wouldn't do a German short row row and go, okay, next time I'm going to try this one. You know, you're doing enough of them to find what works for you. And because this is not an experiment. If you want to, I think I did suggest have a test swatch that you can try these things on. If you have your test swatch, you can do so many different things. And, you know, whenever you have a new stitch that you're not sure of, go to your test swatch and use that. And that's always helpful for me. Okay. Oh, Sally, you want to know how to unknit the lifted stitches. That one gave me a rash. That's like, how do you unknit lifted stitches? Very carefully. No, I mean, they're easy to unknit as you do them, because if you made a mistake and you go back, just slide that stitch out. I mean, it's not really a stitch until you knit it. So when you take it out, okay, so here I'm on a lifted stitch here.
Like if you're on a different row, like you look
If I had to
back.
go back 3 rows.
Yeah,
Well, yes, when you're on that lifted stitch, I don't have my new camera yet. So if I'm gonna lift my stitch here. So I went down two rows here, and I'm lifting this bar, whoops, there, right there, to knit that stitch. Once I knit it, I mean, most people want to know how to knit it. You want to know how to take it out. When I knit it, if I have to take it out, all I do is pull that off my needle and pull that yarn away. And now it's just the bar between the stitches again.
okay, I guess I should go to my swatch and try it.
Yeah, it's I haven't had to go back that far. Now, see, I made a mistake here. I'm going to have to fix this one. I just noticed that I have a very long bar. I don't know how that happened. I may have to go back a few rows myself. Oh, when you're doing, where did I have my little, hold on a minute. I want to get to my working pattern. Here we go. On my working pattern. The Raglan Shaping, number 2. And the Raglan Shaping. For some reason, I had the hardest time getting the stitch count right. It didn't mean that the pattern was wrong. As my ex-husband used to say to me, it's not the arrow, it's the Indian. And you have to look at yourself and say, well, what am I doing wrong here? I've taken this thing out enough times, and it was just me not paying attention. I mean, this is not hard stuff. So, you're placing the markers for the Raglan sleeves. You slip a marker at the beginning of your work, knit 3. So when you're getting ready to knit your Raglan sleeve, wait, let me make sure I want to do this so that I don't lose my stitch marker. Hold on. So your Raglan sleeve is 3 stitches. Your Raglan increases. Let me take this one out. All right, so right here, so we go from our neck design into your Raglan increases. So you're going to place a marker, knit 3, place another marker, and then go on with your knitting. Where you place those markers, for those of you who have never knitted a sweater before or never done a Raglan sleeve, the stitches between those markers never move. So those 3 stitches are always, everything that happens on the outside of the stitches. So you can see where the where, see how my shoulder is shaping here? As I'm doing my increases, my shoulder is shaping on the sweater. But you notice that there's between those markers, those 3 stitches always happen exactly the same. So keep that in mind. So if you're saying, oh my goodness, I have 4 stitches between my markers, between my shoulder markers, then you've done something wrong. So you're either slipping your marker and then doing your increase. That would, or somehow you picked up a stitch in there. So all your stitches, all your increases happen on the outsides of your markers. And so not only are you adding stitches to shape your shoulder, you're also adding stitches in here because you're doing increases on the outside of every marker. So this part of your sweater is growing as well as the shoulders. So the front, the back, and the shoulders are all growing at the same time as you're working between those markers.
I found it really helpful to use different colored markers.
I did too.
Otherwise, all of a sudden, is this a front? Is this a shoulder? Is this a back?
Right.
Where am
I also put a pin in the back of my work. I usually put a pin in the front, but this time I put it in the back because that's where I was doing my short rows. And I wanted to make sure that I always knew where the back of my sweater was, because the short, I don't want to put it on when I'm ready to wear it and have the, so why is this neckline not feeling right? Because it's the back. It's supposed to be in the back. So you're not doing your short rows in the front of your sweater. You're only doing them in the back, and they're just around the neckline. So keep that in mind. And so I like to put a pin so that when I'm doing my short rows, they have to stay within that area. If I cross the marker and I'm doing a short row and I'm on this side of my work, I did something wrong. I have to be right here where that pin is. Okay. Because your short rows are done between your markers. Okay. So what else did I find on this pattern? And that's really it. Once you get to this part, where you're doing these increases, you're pretty much just working in the round and doing your shoulder increases here. But like I said, here I found a mistake and I'm like, oh boy, I'm going to have to go back probably about 4 rows there, Miss Sally. It did take out my my lifted stitches, but I don't have a problem with those. That should be fine. I wish I knew a way to just take out those stitches and fix them, but I don't know. I'd rather go back and I'd rather go back 3 rows and have it right than to, and the reason why that happens because I was knitting in the car today. And I was trying to pay attention to someone who was talking and it didn't work. So I learned my lesson the hard way. So anybody else, any other questions? I think that's as far as I've gotten so far. The things that I wanted to be far enough to show you and to go over some things that I thought might stump you or give you a little bit of a run for your money. Pat, did you have a question? Because you're muted. And I think I saw you talking. No? Okay. Okay. Anyone?
Think of anything.
Okay, so when we get together for our Zooms, hey Gina, all I see is your forehead. It looks like Kilroy's in the room. When we're on our Zooms, the Zooms are social and sharing. All right, so and that doesn't mean we're not going to practice things while we're together, because of course we are, and everybody's going to have questions. That's the sharing part. It's not just sharing how great your work is, but or how much fun you're having, but sharing where you might have run into an issue and that somebody else might find it interesting that you had a situation, because you never know, you might have the same situation that someone else has. So the reason I say that is because if there's something that you need help with when we're not on the Zoom, call me, text me, send me an email. I need your help with something. I'm always happy to help you out. and get you through that stumbling block. There's no reason for you to wait till next Thursday if you have a question. And when you could have answered, we could have answered it in a couple of minutes, and you'd be on your way knitting again. So Sally and I had a lot of fun because Sally was trying to calculate stitches and size and everything else, and so we had a couple of conversations to help her understand what the designers are, when they create a pattern, they know what they're talking about. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't mistakes in patterns, but they pretty much have that pattern down. And if you notice here on my pattern, I've got lots of numbers because I want to make sure that when I'm doing something, my numbers add up to what they say I should have. And so that's where we are here.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Okay, because I'm pretty sure I'll get through the collar pretty fast.
Okay.
Looking at the next section.
Yeah.
So normally I would think I'd be looking at, right side, wrong side, right side, front, back, front, back. I don't think that's the way this is being written. So you have set up round 1. So you have raglan, slip marker, beginning of row, knit 3. Since you've done it, is every line here part of that same first round?
Yes.
So that's not a front back, it's just going around the garment.
Well, you're creating the front and back. You're marking off
that's
the front
back?
back. Yes,
Okay, so
because
the
you're,
top, maybe this is the back and then it goes, oh, I see, then goes to the front.
yep, it does say back.
Yeah, back and then front. So then if you go to set up round 2 and you look at the back, it says, I'm probably be on the 27, but just out of curiosity, it goes 27, 30, 33, then 6, 6, 2, 2, 3. What does that mean?
27.
I'm setting up.
Oh,
round
33, 6, 33.
27, then 33, then it goes 6, 6, 2, 2, 3, not like 33, 33, 33, or 39.
I don't know. That's a very good question.
Hit 7.
Knit 27, knit 33, knit 6. You know what? That's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's not our size, I don't know if anyone's making that size.
This is weird. It looks like it's a weird instruction.
It is a weird instruction.
What?
It is. I'm going to find out what it is. I'll find out for you. I will report back. Thank you. I don't see that anywhere. I haven't run into that because when she has your stitch counts, they're all, but she's got that knit 27.
Does she tell you how many stitches you actually should have on that first round, or you just have to keep adding them on? Like, is there ever a total?
Well,
here?
what I did was it says at the end of the first setup round,
Maybe
it tells you how many stitches you have.
I think it's 33.
Well, that's what it
I
says.
asked a
It
lot
says
of
you have
questions.
33. Sorry?
I apologize. I ask lots of questions.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So you have 33 stitches there, 33 stitches for the front, 33 stitches for the back, and 3 stitches at each sleeve. And that's when and then you start your raglan.
But don't you have 3 at each raglan?
You will create that. Okay, so you have when you start your sleeves, you only have 3 stitches. So you have
I thought that the question was how many stitches total is it on the needle? Is that correct?
I was questioning that. So it sounds like to me it would be 60, 33, 66, and then 9 on top of it. 6 on top of it.
If you look at the instructions at the end of setup round number 1, it tells you how many stitches you have. You have 33 at the front, 33 at the back. Those 33 stitches include the 3 stitches for your raglans. And then you have 3 stitches for each sleeve at that point. So this sleeve started with 3 stitches up here. Right in here. And then it grew and grew and grew and grew and grew. So that's how it starts. You have 3, 3, and 3, right? It says at the beginning of the round, knit 3 for your raglan line, place marker. Knit 3 for your sleeve, place marker. Knit 3 for raglan line, place marker. It's pretty clear.
So 9, then 27.
Then you
and
knit,
3, 3,
then
and
you
3,
knit
and then
27 or
I
however many your
think-
pattern. Sorry?
I think that it should, that very first setup round is going to have the same number as you cast on. So if you total it all up, it matches exactly with the cast on stitches.
There you go. Right, because you're not increasing anything. You're just setting
Mhm.
up. It's called a setup round. You're setting up to do the rest of the pattern. Okay, so
And that, yeah, that round, you
It's
haven't
74.
added anything yet.
right, you're just
So
placing
you'll have
markers.
72. You would
It's
have
72,
72.
you're right. Yep, it is.
Okay, and so then at the next setup round, round 2, she is very explicit again. You slip your marker, you're at the beginning of your round, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, slip your marker, knit 3, slip your marker, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, slip your marker. See, it's very, very clear. Now you do your back. You knit your 27 stitches across your back. Now it says to do a left lift increase. Right there.
We can say that.
Yeah, where?
Raglan,
On this-
the setup round 2.
It also says 0.
No, it
says-
says do a left lift increase. And then it says knit 0 or however many you knit. You do your left lift increase.
Okay.
Well, if you're not putting any on, you're not doing that increase.
Yes, you are.
Really? I don't get it.
Well, how are you gonna, you have to start increasing your sleeve. If you said if you're not putting any, if you're not adding any, it says left lift increase. And then knit to the marker. And then slip marker, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, slip the marker. Knit 3. Left lift, and then when you get to the bottom there, it says left lift increase. And then knit to the marker. And then knit to the beginning of the round. On row 3. Just don't overthink it. Read it, do it, and count. Okay, so the left lift increase, you're doing the left lift increase, and then in brackets it says knit 0037773, right? And then do another, because for the other sizes you have more stitches there. So for example, if you were knitting so the extra small, then small, medium, large, extra large, 2X. If you were knitting a 2X, you'd have 7 stitches to knit after you do your left lift increase. But if you're doing any of those first 4 sizes, then you don't have any other stitches.
Yeah.
So making sense, you're doing, those brackets are where you're, are different than your left lift increase. The left lift increase that's on the beginning of that row still has to get done. And then you knit to your marker.
So Paulette, is that saying do the left lift increase And then all of that other stuff in the bracket 0 times if you are extra small, small, medium, or large.
Right.
So all we're doing is a left lift increase and then knitting to the marker.
Yes. Now, what I like to do is I circle my size. Sometimes I circle my size instructions throughout the entire pattern so that I don't get confused when I'm looking at the pattern. Which do I have to do? Which is that my size? Which one am I doing again? How many do I increase? So if you wanted to, in that first section there, you can cross out. If you don't, it's, you know, just think about what you have to do. I've got to do my increase. I have to do this 0 times, so I don't have to do it at all. And then the next thing I have to do is knit to the marker. That's for everybody. Make sense? So if you, when you get there, you're confused, give me a call and we'll walk through it together. And you'll get it. Take your time. All right. It's not a race. If it takes you 2 months to finish the sweater, it takes you 2 months to finish it. We're going to meet here every, you know, with the days that we meet, you're going to see all different levels of accomplishment each time we get together. And, you know, if you want to put your knitting away and pick it up when we're not together, that's fine too. But I see Julie knitting away there. Perfect. That's what we're doing on the knit along. We're knitting along and sharing our experiences. So are you working on your pattern, Jules? Yeah, good. Coming along nicely. Very nice. Yep. Yep. So are there any other questions before we end our day today or our night? I have to go upstairs.
I'm just going to ask one more. It says to shape the neckline for a higher back, work a few short rows back and forth as follows. That sounds like almost like it's optional.
Well, then you're not going to have the right number of
Is
stitches.
it?
And no, I don't think it's optional.
It's not meant to sound that way.
To shape? No, I don't. I think an instruction is there. If it's optional, it will say optional.
Okay, so you have to do that. Okay.
All right. Well, I think Sally had that question too. Sally's like, I don't want to do short rows. Well, then you're going to have a straight line across the back of your sweater and you're going to have too many stitches. Okay. You know, you have to reduce those
I did what
stitches.
you said. I just totally followed the instructions. And then after doing that whole thing, I'm about where you were, I thought, oh, that's what she was talking about. Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah. But ahead of time, I thought, why is that necessary? I don't want a high collar in the back, but it's not the high collar in the back. It's the shaping across the back.
That's correct. It's not making your collar. It's not making your neckline higher. It's just giving a shape. Who's the person who sews? Isn't there somebody who's okay? All right. So I remember one time my mom sewed for a living. She was a sewing machine operator and she was a pocket maker. And I remember she went to design school, you know, and my mother could sew anything. And my brother's girlfriend wanted to make a jacket one time. So my mom said, okay, I'll help her. So she got the whole pattern. She said to her, you know, cut all the pieces out and then come back to the house and we'll do it. Okay. So she gets to the house and mom, she's on the collar. And my mother said to her, Joelle, where's the collar facing? She's like, what collar facing? What do you mean? So my mom said, you know, the piece that goes under the collar, because otherwise you're going to have you're going to have the collar's going to only have one piece. She said, I didn't think I needed that. So I didn't cut it. So now you have to go cut it because all the pieces are there because you need all the pieces. All the instructions are there because you need all the instructions. If you want to make your sweater longer or shorter, you can do that. You can put more rows on it. They tell you how many. She does have a lot of options in here. You will see throughout this pattern, she'll have optional this, optional that. But the short rows do not say they're optional. So So they are there for a reason. Now, Hannah, we talked before, if you want to use a different short row method,
I don't know how to do short rows anyway. I only ever did them once. So I don't know
Okay.
what would be an easier method.
well, you can Google them and
I
you'll
will.
find all the different short row methods. Or you can just follow her instructions and you'll learn them this way. And I mean, the first time I did a short row, I learned it because it was a wrap and turn.
That just sounds easier.
I think it's easier. I do. What it does though, it does create a little bump in front of your stitch
Oh,
where
Yeah,
with
I
the
like
German
that.
short row, you're not going to get that
yeah, I don't want that bump.
because you'll have the wrapped stitch. With the German short row, when you pull the yarn over the top, like when we make a mistake when we're new in knitting and we wind up pulling the yarn to the wrong side and we think we have an extra stitch.
You won't see it.
When you knit that, you're not going to see it.
Okay, I'm glad you
With the
said that.
wrap and turn, you'll see a little bump there because it wraps that stitch. Okay, and especially in a heavier yarn, I think you're more apt to see it. If you're using fingering weight, you're not going to see it.
I found it easy to learn from her. I mean, if I
Yeah.
can learn it, anybody can learn it.
Yeah, we have all different skill levels. All, it's great. I think it's fantastic here. And
Well, I probably have the least skill of the skill levels of everybody. Plus I'm 85, so I've got this rotten old brain up here.
well,
And
what I thought was interesting was the first conversation I had with Sally after she got her pattern. Says, well, I'm thinking I'd like to add some fair isle. I want to add some fair isle to the bottom of just above the bottom ribbing and above the sleeves. I said, well, then why don't you just do a fair isle sweater? Because you're going to take away from the simplicity of this sweater. And so she's saying she has very little experience, but let me tell you what, if you're putting fair isle in a sweater, I'm thinking you're pretty good.
no, just crazy.
Oh gosh, well, that's great. So we're going to see each other. I hope if you can't join us one week, it's okay. We're still going to record. I think it's wonderful to have everybody. Next week, I don't want to do so much talking. I want you all to start sharing. But I thought it was good this week to go over the pattern a little bit and to answer your questions. And did any questions come up? Any more questions come up while we were chatting?
This
Okay,
is
so
great, Paula. It's just terrific.
oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And so we will see you on Saturday. What are we doing? 2 o'clock, I think we said. I think that's what I have. Wait, I have it right here. Otherwise I forget. No, Saturday, yeah, 2 to 3. 2
Excellent.
o'clock on Saturday. And I will send you the link to the left and right lift increases, which you're going to be doing soon anyway. So you're going to start doing those right after you finish your putting your markers in. So you'll have that to refer to. Okie doke. This is recorded, so we're going to I'll have that posted for you as well. And for those of you who were, I think maybe everybody was on, but if you weren't on at the beginning, you'll get a link to the YouTube channel with that's not open to everyone. That will be a private link just for the people who are in the class. Okie dokes.
Thank
Super,
you. very
Thank you.
much.
Have a
you.
great night. It was a pleasure to see you all.
Everybody.
Good
All
night.
right.
Good
Thanks,
night.
Paul.
Good night.
Love you
Good night.
all. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.